Hey, so today I'm going to demo how to do eggs Benedict, which I know you learned last year, except I'm going to put a new twist on it. I'm going to show you how to do poached eggs with an immersion circulator, like sous vide style. And I'm going to show you a blender method of hollandaise, which I think is hard pressed to tell the difference between regular, and I am a purist that I love traditional hollandaise. So for me, that's big compliments. Okay, so my let's start out with the eggs. So my immersion circulator is set at 147 degrees Fahrenheit, which I'm trying to remember what that is in Celsius, and I can't remember. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to start lowering eggs, and I'm just gonna do that gently so they do not bump into each other and crack, because at this point that would be bad. And because they're in a shell, I do not need to vacuum seal them, because sous vide literally means under vacuum. And these are just regular old large eggs. And I am going to set a timer for 1 hour. And now in 1 hour, they will be perfectly cooked. So while we wait, what we're gonna do is we're gonna make the hollandaise. So I have my eggs over here. I have half a teaspoon of salt. I don't have cayenne pepper. I have it in the cabinet, but I have cashmere, which is not as hot as cayenne. I think more flavorful than paprika, and I think it'll add just a little bit of a different flavor. 2 tablespoons of heavy cream, and this will keep it stable, which is not a normal ingredient in hollandaise. And then I have 2 tablespoons of lemon juice. So this recipe is in your file section on Teams. And if you notice, or if you can read there, I am going to be doubling the recipe. So let me clear off this a little, and I'll show you how I'm gonna separate the eggs. My eggs have been going a little bit, and so I got some other mise en place together. I started some home fries. And now I'm going to make my blender hollandaise. And so I've already cracked 5 eggs, and there's 5 yolks in there, and these are the whites. And let me show you how I do it, because I think it's really important to review this. So whenever I'm going to separate an egg yolk from an egg white, I crack it on a flat surface, because that gives me a nicer crack along the egg. Just like that. And then you're just gonna grab it and split it open, kind of like Pac-Man. And then I try to people concentrate on different things. I concentrate on the yolk, and all I try and do is pass the yolk back and forth. And this one actually worked really well, but like sometimes you gotta pass it back and forth a couple times to just get the yolk, and then you can put the yolk inside of here. So now what we have to do is we are also going to be placing the 1 teaspoon of salt. It calls for the dash of cayenne pepper now, but I like to add it at the end on top because I think it adds a nice garnish. 1 tablespoon of cream, but obviously I'm doubling this, so this is 2 tablespoons of cream. And then what we're gonna do is, the only thing that we have left, other than the egg whites, which we're not going to use in this dish, is we have the lemon juice. And what we're gonna do is we are going to add about half the butter, which I've already melted, which is right here, which is 2 cups or 4 sticks or 1 block or 1 pound. I mean, it's all the same thing. So now all I'm gonna do is I'm going to mix this until it's light and airy, and mix them in. See you in a minute. As you can see, it is now light and frothy. And so what we're gonna do now is we're going to add the butter. So when I melted the butter, I obviously melted it in a pot. You could melt it in the microwave, that's fine. I have it in a liquid measuring cup. And the reason I have it in a liquid measuring cup is because of this pour spout. If you have it in a pot and you try and add it slowly, it's just gonna run down the bottom of the pot, and it's not gonna work very well. So this is just a better way to do it. So all that I'm going to do now is take this lid off, if I can get it off, and I am going to turn on the blender on high and add the slowest stream of butter until I add half of it. So, and you might want to cover it because the last thing you want is for it to like kind of spurt up. So I'm just going to start with just the tiniest little bit because we're making an emulsion. I guess you can't really see what I'm doing, so let me turn to the other side. Let me do this lefty. Now, if I stop it and I look down in there, which I just did, and I just knocked my camera, I can see that it's getting thick, and that is really good. If your emulsion is not starting by now, and it looks like there's oil kind of floating around, the eggs are on one side and the oil's on the other, that basically means that your emulsion broke. Breaking means that the oil's on one side and the eggs are on the other, and they will never become friends. So I'll see you in a couple minutes when I'm halfway. So we are halfway through the butter, and you can see that this is very thick. And so if I was to keep going and not add the lemon juice at this point, like the tension would just be so much that it would just break, and then that would be a very bad thing. So at this point, the lemon juice is gonna do a couple things. One, it's gonna add acidity, which is gonna be super nice. And secondly, it's gonna thin down our emulsion, and that will make it be able to take more butter, and more butter meaning more flavor. And so it'll just be really nice. By the end, we hope to have a nice balance between the egg yolks, the butter flavor, and the acidity, and the little bit of heat that we're gonna use with our Kashmir chilies. See you in a minute. You can see our hollandaise is done. At one point it got super thick and my blender couldn't handle it, so I had to thin it down with a little bit of water, which is perfectly acceptable. Unfortunately, I added a little bit too much water to my liking. It's still really good. It would still be acceptable. It's just a little thinner than I would like. So I need to put it in something warm. So I have my 80s thermos from my middle school lunchbox. And so I'm just going to take it and pour it in here. And what that's going to do is, you can see how thick it is. Maybe it is thick enough. This is going to keep it perfectly warm until we need it. And then might have put too much in there. But anyway, there we go. And then we'll put that aside until our eggs are ready. And then when our eggs are ready, we'll have nice warm hollandaise. And I'll show you what else we need to prep up while we're waiting. So other mise en place that we need to get ready, I have 4 English muffins for my family. And rather than using Canadian bacon, I use hardwood smoked pork shoulder butt. I don't know why they call the front shoulder of a pig a butt, but it's what they call it. Now this is about the same diameter as Canadian bacon. So real Canadian bacon is actually somewhat rectangle because it comes from the loin of the pig. And most Canadian bacon that you eat though is kind of fake Canadian bacon, and it's really just ham. So rather than get real Canadian bacon, which is okay, or fake Canadian bacon, which is also okay, this stuff tastes delicious. So I'm gonna slice it off, and then once the eggs are ready, we'll be ready to plate. See you in a couple minutes. So our eggs have been in for 1 hour, and we pulled them out and just put them aside so they don't keep cooking. I have a English muffin that is lightly toasted. You don't want it too much because then it'll dry out. I have my smoked pork shoulder, which I put on a cast iron skillet and just browned slightly. Remember, ham is already cooked, so you don't want to dry it out. And then all that we have to do is crack our eggs. So normally what you do is, whenever you see people do this, they'll crack it in one bowl and then they'll pull it out and then put it on the plate. And that's because the egg white doesn't fully set up. And that does not mean that it's undercooked. It just means that like the different proteins coagulate at different temperatures. So all I'm going to do is take it, let some of the stuff sit behind, and then place it gently on top. And it cooked perfectly right in the shell. And you might be asking yourself, how's he touching that? That's really hot. One, I can touch really hot things. And two, it's only 145 degrees, which sounds really hot, but in all actuality, it's really not that hot. So I have noticed in the past that sometimes when I do this, that the eggs, that the sauce does not want to stick onto the top. So what you can do is just dab them a little bit like that, so the sauce doesn't roll off. It has something to like cling to. And normally I would be using a side, like a clean side towel for this, but I'm at home. So, and then I'm going to take my thermos full of hollandaise, and I'm just going to take a little bit. We're just going to put it on top, just like that. And I made some roasted garlic Yukon Gold potatoes with fresh thyme. So we'll put a little bit of that at the back. Try not to space your stuff out too much. If things touch a little bit, that's okay. And I mean, when you guys plate, so obviously, the meat, the protein would be facing the customer, and then the starch would be away from the customer, and then we need a little pop of color, so we can just give it a little bit of love, and that's it. Okay, eggs Benedict, modern style. See you guys in class. I can't believe I forgot this. I forgot the cashmere. Yay, baby spoons. Just a little bit on top, and that's it. See you in school.